Hi, this is Scarlett Johnson, and this is Moms for Liberty Unplugged. And I don't normally do something like this on a Saturday, but today is special. Today I was up at 3 in the morning, and then, very, very early because I was lucky enough to be on Fox and Friends. And a ally of Moms for Liberty, Rachel Duffy, host of Fox and Friends, and while she's not a Wisconsin native, her husband, Sean Duffy, who is currently the Secretary of Transportation with the Trump administration, is a Wisconsin native, and he was a Wisconsin congressman. And so she moved to Wisconsin, had 9 children, and she's an amazing, amazing person. And last week, I was able to attend the Right to Life fundraising dinner where she was the keynote speaker. And my good friend Brian Schimming, the Wisconsin chairman of the Republican Party, made sure that I was able to talk with her. So thanks, Brian. I was interviewed, oh gosh, it must have been last year by Rachel and her husband Sean when they had a show with Fox Nation. A show that it was just kind of like what I'm doing now. It was a casual show in their kitchen where they would talk with, people about issues that they thought were interesting. And at that time, I was discussing what I normally discuss, Moms for Liberty and what we're doing, and in particular, some of the things that we're doing in Wisconsin. And it was great. It was a 1-hour show, and it was great to be able to be interviewed by them and talk with them, and then kind of talk with them a little bit off the air as well. So it was wonderful that I was asked to be on Fox and Friends to discuss something. Oh, need to remove this so that I can read. Hey, everyone. Able to discuss something really, really important that's happening tomorrow, June 1st, is something that we're going to celebrate, and it's something that I wasn't aware of until only in the last 4 or 5 years, where I've been engaged in parental rights activism. And we are going to be celebrating a 100-year anniversary. June 1st is celebrating 100 years of precedent. So I'm just going to read from our Moms for Liberty statement. In 1925, the Supreme Court decision Pierce versus the Society of Sisters affirmed the fundamental right of parents to direct their children's upbringing and their education. So with this case, basically, the more things change, the more they stay the same. 100 years ago, a progressive Democrat governor tried to force every parent in Oregon to send their child to a public school. And, today we see that progressive Democrats are trying to make sure that kids cannot escape the public school system at all. Not to say, listen, we 100% support public education, and most children will attend a public school. My children have attended public school, and I have one that currently is attending public school. So we are all about fighting for public schools. But 100 years ago, a progressive Democrat governor was trying to compel kids to go to a public school and not allow homeschooling. And there was a big win because the Supreme Court ruled, and a very famous statement, the child is not the mere creature of the state. Again, the child is not the mere creature of the state, that children belong to their parents, and that parental rights is the right you have as parents to educate and raise your children, to make sure you're providing for their health care, that you make all of those important decisions for your kids, is so innate and so fundamental that it's basically part of common law. It's a basic right that for thousands of years has been the pillar of Western civilization, and all, frankly, just the pillar of humanity, I think. But that was just affirmed. That was affirmed by the Supreme Court. It's not that parental rights suddenly began 100 years ago. It's what the whole point is, that it's just a given. That's just a given. Parental rights, parental responsibilities. But that was affirmed, and that truth remains the cornerstone of our mission at Moms for Liberty today. And we believe it is a cornerstone that is worthy of honor, especially in a time such as this. Today in America, things have gone off track. And in the interview with Rachel Duffy, I discussed many things that are happening in education. And I thought, well, I have my makeup on, I have my Moms for Liberty shirt on, I'm all set up here. So why I wanted to do a live stream, because I know what's going to happen. There's going to be folks that say, oh, this is all just outrage, or, oh, this is not happening. This isn't happening. There will be activists that will try to convince the greater public that this isn't happening, because if the public finds out, if normal, average Americans find out what is happening in schools, things change. We know this. I know this. I have watched it happen over these last years. And the members of Moms for Liberty and other activist group organizations that are in this space know that sunshine is the best disinfectant, and that knowledge is power. So it becomes really important, I think, for these organizations to deny, lie. And then once you can prove it, once they can't deny it anymore, they're like, shut up, bigot. This is good for your kids. That phrase, shut up, bigot, this is good for your kids, is a direct quote from a GSAFE training. And GSAFE is an organization that promotes the Rainbow Clubs and GSA, Gender Sexuality Alliance Clubs in Wisconsin. That quote came from a training session with Wisconsin educators, in which they were advising them how to promote Rainbow Clubs, GSA, Gender Sexuality Alliance Clubs. I call it gender ideology recruitment clubs, in elementary schools. They were specifically discussing fourth grade, and all the participants were hoping for the day, wishing for the day when they could start in kindergarten. This particular training took place in 2022. In 2025, their wish has come true. GSA clubs are in Wisconsin kindergartens. They are in kindergartens in Colorado, in California, in Maryland, in Oregon, in Illinois, in Minnesota, in Michigan, all over. I think there are states that are doing a very, very good job of trying to eliminate that kind of thing statewide. And I am going to discuss some of the wins. Just plugging something in, sorry. There have been some really big wins with our Moms for Liberty state legislative committees. So not only does Moms for Liberty have chapters we try to have chapters in as many counties as we can in 48 states. We have over 300 chapters now across the country, but we have state legislative committees, and those committees allow for parents to be actively involved and participate in the legislative process in their state, because much of what happens in education, the policy is based on statute, particularly for human growth and development. In most states, I think maybe all states, the human growth and development statute and the way that sex ed is taught is written right into state statutes. So it's really important to have a voice in legislation, particularly like in Texas, there's been so much success. In Florida, there has been so much success. In Iowa, there has been so much success. In these states, because they have Republican governors and Republican state legislators, they have been able to pass sweeping legislation that protects children from gender ideology, DEI, and introducing age inappropriate harmful concepts to kids at a young age, particularly without parental consent. They've also been very successful in stopping surveys and data mining of kids. In Oklahoma, the Moms for Liberty Oklahoma State Legislative Committee has been successful recently. This was a big win in blocking legislation that basically was going to data mine kids from kindergarten to high school. And there were 4 different attempts to get these type of surveys and data mining into schools. And Oklahoma is a very conservative state, and the moms there had to really fight hard, and they killed it, and they won for now by organizing with groups all over the state. And that's what we do. We work, we collaborate. You don't have to be a member of Moms for Liberty in order for us to work in Wisconsin. We work with lots of different groups. However, what ends up happening in my experience is that we are so effective that many people we work with end up joining and becoming leaders of Moms for Liberty because they're so excited about what they're able to accomplish. So enough. Yeah, I will do lots of plugs for Moms for Liberty. And just to put, I want to show, or to start a chapter, join momsforliberty.org. Super easy. So I'm going to get right to, I'm going to add to stage some of the things that I discussed. Actually, you know what? First, let's show this. Show this first. So I started off talking with Rachel when she asked the question, very important question. Why is the Pierce decision important right now? Why, what's happening in schools? And I mentioned this right here. If your parents aren't accepting of your new trans identity, I'm your mom now. This is an actual poster that hung on a door of a middle school in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Similar posters have been placed in schools all over the country. So when I'm talking about Wisconsin, sometimes this is my home state. This is happening everywhere. And I'll talk more about where else it's happening. But when signs like this, and let's bring this up, when safe space stickers with trans flags litter the classroom doors of thousands upon thousands of American classrooms, what is that implying? Safe space. You see that? You can see right here. And GSA, the Gender Sexuality Alliance clubs that I was discussing before, the flags. Go to. So right here, safe zones, and this is part of GSAFE, GLSEN, it's an organization, GLSEN, the Human Rights Campaign. These are trans activist organizations. They say LGBTQIA+, but honestly, all they focus on is the TQIA+. They pretend like they are about tolerance for gay and lesbian Americans and families. I do not find that to be the case, nor do my friends in Gays Against Groomers who fight like so hard against all of this because they want to protect children just as much as I do and as much as the members of Moms for Liberty do. So what they're really about is the identity game and confusing kids, kind of preaching this anti-science gospel. I think it's a cult. I think it's more like a religion than it is anything else. And look here, 30 examples of Christian privileges. And these are actual, this is actual like literature. This is actually things that are provided to teachers. If you're a Christian in the United States, these are a bunch of unearned benefits that members of other faiths do not have. It's not about shame, it's about understanding. To say that being a Christian is an example of white privilege, here, River Falls, Wisconsin, identity-focused materials are everywhere. Trans ideology and gender identities are deeply embedded into every facet of public education. It is a virus, and it is creepy. I think to say that it's creepy is not wrong. It's obvious that radical activists, education bureaucrats are assuming that parents who don't conform with this ideology, parents who will tell their children, you cannot change your biological sex just because you want to, or you wish to, or you have a feeling that was likely kind of, I think, introduced to kids in a way that's reminiscent of brainwashing. When parents say, no, we're not going to affirm that, we love you, but we're not going to affirm that, these activists / educators / bureaucrats say, well, the parents are abusive, they're not safe. We are now the trusted adults. The school classroom is the safe space. That's the sticker. School classroom is the safe space. Safe from who? From parents. Not the home, not the family. The school, the government building becomes the safe space for kids. That's where kids can go. And that sort of view is, it's not only bad, it undermines our society. It undermines American values. To allow that to persist, to say that schools can sort of be the first line of taking away parental rights, that schools and government and state can simply say, oh, you're not affirming, we now have custody of your child. Hello, Colorado. Yeah. In Colorado, they actually, that legislation was signed into law. Affirm or lose custody. Affirm or face criminal penalties. And Jennifer Say with XXXY is suing because she has a business in Colorado, and her business, certainly what she does, the work, the clothing, which I love, by the way, I love XXXY. She's not affirming gender identity. She's not affirming the preferred pronouns. And what does that mean for her business? What does that mean for her? What does that mean for her organization? So yeah, this is about free speech. It's about parental rights, but this is really about our way of life. So that's why we're so passionate. You can say this only affects so many people. This only affects a small portion. No, changing language affects everybody. Forcing and compelling speech affects everybody. If you're going to do it in the classroom, you're going to do it everywhere. It doesn't stop. There's no limiting principles for radical Marxist ideology. There's no safe space for you. you will continually have to struggle. Like I said, a struggle session. They start early with kids where you have to struggle with these ideas. You have to feel comfortable in your discomfort. Things that feel icky and feel wrong to a child, they're told this is good. You're privileged. You need this struggle. This struggle is good for you. And that's wrong. Again, I'll put this up, which we do not co-parent with the government. We just don't. A mother's love trumps an activist's desire to virtue signal to a cult, always. A mother's love trumps an activist's desire to virtue signal. And I love this image, and I love this shirt. So I want to get back to the receipts. I'll talk too much. Add to stage. I am hoping that there will be some people that will come on with me. So let's hold on. I'm sending a request because I am hoping to have 1 minute. I always like to talk with people while I'm talking. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Right here. So this is interesting. I've talked gender spectrum. So neo-genders and youth. Your kids can identify as a rock. Yep. They can identify as rock self. They can identify as a moon and call themselves moon self. If left unchecked, gender ideology has zero limiting principles. The adherents descend into madness. Neo-genders and youth. The tree self. Rock self. What are some of the other ones? Star self. Vampire self. I didn't make this graphic. This is from Gender Spectrum. And Gender Spectrum provides curriculum and materials to K through 12 schools all throughout our country. I couldn't make this up. This is too insane for me. Noun genders, emoji self genders, emoji genders. I'm going to put up some. Yeah, it is a violation of the First Amendment. I will not co-parent with the government either. Thank you. Good. Oh, here's a friend. Yeah, sure. I'm Puerto Rican. Okay, stop. I agree. Abolish the Department of Education. Oops, not going to put that up. Oh, yeah. Very hard. Coming from someone that doesn't even put their face on their profile. Yeah. So let's go on to the next slide. All right. So this is from the Human Rights Campaign, Children, Parents, and Gender affirmation. Look at how young the children are. And you'll see here, can a young child know their gender identity? Yes, they say. How young is too young? They will say as young as 2, 3 years old, that they can understand the concepts of gender identity, and you can talk to them about it. They say that your kids just can't wait to talk about this. I have 5 children, and I promise you, my children have never had the desire to talk about this at all. And children won't, unless you're reading them books like I have here. When you're reading them books like Stay Angry Little Girl. And in these books, I'll show you, I've discussed this before. In the books, images adorned, and basically throughout the book, it's how to be an activist. Here's one image. I should just put one image here. Put that up. And in this image, you can see that "Stay Angry Little Girl." This is for elementary school kids. And the kids are defending what they love, holding signs that say "Trans kids belong. We exist" with a trans flag. LGBTQIA rights are human rights. A boy in this picture that looks 4 years old, he's holding the sign. A girl in a wheelchair, "Drag is not a crime." Then another little girl, "Trans kids rule. Protect trans kids." Another girl holds the sign. Pride over prejudice. I mean, again, it's all about the trans. So this book, "Stay Angry Little Girl," is a book that tells the girls, stay stubborn, stay mad, stay angry. Conditioning kids to become activists, conditioning kids to constantly feel oppressed, to look for oppression everywhere, and to stew about it, to think about it. It's not "Stay happy, little girl," it's "Stay angry, little girl." And I think it has a particular effect on young kids. So here are some of the surveys that I was discussing. These are surveys given to young kids. Look at here. What is your gender identity? What grade here? And this is how young, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. There's more questions. During your life, how many people have you had sexual intercourse with? This is for 6th graders. 6th graders. 10, 11 years old. During the past 3 months, how many people did you have sexual intercourse with? 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. I mean, seriously? I actually kind of forgot how bad this was, but these are actual surveys in all the schools, in all the states. These are the kind of things that we are fighting, and we have been successful. It's not all doom and gloom. We have been successful. So here, this could be any kindergarten in a blue state in America, and even red states, to be honest. Kids singing about Pride, June 1st, tomorrow, and we know it's Pride Month, and a lot of this stuff goes into overdrive. So the book that you're seeing was one I was made aware of a few years ago when parents in a school district in Wisconsin were upset that when they discovered that their kids had spent a week learning about gender identity and pronouns. They were watching YouTube videos and they read this book, "What Are Your Words?" And it's a book about pronouns. It's a book about an ambiguous character who is a boy that thinks that he's a girl. And the kids would gather into circle time, and in circle time they would talk about pronouns, and then they would choose pronouns and try them on and see if they fit and see how they like them. And all of this was done without parental awareness or parental consent. This is a school district in Madison, and it is a very progressive area, yet even progressive parents were upset that these concepts were introduced to their children at a young age and without their knowledge. The statistics of favorability for stunts like this is very low. The majority of Americans do not support this. They don't. Um, these are some of the concepts that you can see in high schools. In Stevens Point, Wisconsin, they learn about intergenerational trauma and started to take out the word breastfeeding and instead use chest feeding. And here, this is what we discussed right from the beginning. Eau Claire North High School staff member displays LGBTQ poster that says, "I'm your mom now." These posters were also in middle schools. And it's a free mom hugs. If you look it up, hashtag free mom hugs on Instagram, on social media, you'll see a lot. There's several different types of posters. And yeah. So also in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and this became a case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Parents are not entitled to know their kids' identities. That knowledge must be earned. Teachers are often straddling this complex situation. Our priority is supporting the student. That's a direct quote from the DEI trainer in a professional development session for educators. So when we say that now more than ever, we need to celebrate June 1st as Parental Rights Month and not Pride Month, that we would like to focus on parental rights and celebrate parents and celebrate families. This is why we want there to be awareness of what is happening. I think that obviously there's been a great deal of success for the 2024 election. President Trump actively campaigned on protecting women's sports, protecting girls' sports, fighting gender ideology, affirming parental rights. He actively campaigned on these things and won, I believe, because of the hard work of many of us in Moms for Liberty and many across the country that just couldn't take it anymore. They just couldn't take the gender insanity and the DEI and critical race theory and just the feeling that schools were not a place where kids could get educated, because we're also upset about the NAEP scores and the fact that literacy has gone down, that math skills have gone down, science. In so many areas, our country's children, their educational attainment has plateaued. And to plateau, that's the only good thing, that there's maybe 30 to 40%. Nothing has changed in the last 40 years. But for the vast majority, literacy rates have gone down, math literacy has gone down, STEM, all of that. So our organization is fighting back. We have, again, like I said, 300 chapters nationwide, and that's growing. And we're trying to make sure that school boards respect parental rights. And we appreciate that President Trump has been standing up for parental rights, and we stand with him. I will go back to here. And we are Moms for Liberty. I love this picture. So I'll go back to so now this is an older slide, because now Parents Defending Education is defending education, because they are also, they've expanded their scope to colleges and universities. So K through 12 and colleges and universities. But this is an older slide, and this kind of showed there's many more school districts in Wisconsin. But there are over 10 million students in schools that keep secrets from parents. Again, this was prior to Trump's win. But as you can see, President Trump and Secretary Linda McMahon and OCR, the Office of Civil Rights, are facing constant challenges from the woke left swamp that do not want their gravy train to end. There's a lot of profit in this, in the DEI business. But at that time, a total number of districts, a total number of schools, the numbers over 18,000 schools, over 1,000 districts, and over 10 million students that are in schools that had policies that actively kept secrets from parents. This number has changed for the better since the election of President Trump, because I believe a lot of more conservative school districts have been able to change their policy. And thanks to the efforts of Moms for Liberty, we have fought for and won school board seats where we put sane school board members that will uphold Title IX protections as protections that are sex-based, protections for girls, and that states that non-discrimination policy is not to extend to the policing of students' speech by forcing them to use preferred pronouns or use chosen names. So lots of times when you would hear LGBTQIA plus folks talk about bullying, what I would always say is be careful, don't accept the premise of their arguments. Like, always ask for definitions, because bullying to them would be if Leah Thomas were to say, I use she, her pronouns, I'm a girl and I want to swim on the girls' team, and that it would be bullying to not use those pronouns, to not use that chosen name, and to not allow him to be able to compete against the college girls and with the college girls. So the anti-bullying and the non-discrimination policies were abused, and a lot of gender ideology flows right through those policies. And oftentimes school board members in the past would every year meet and they would discuss, okay, we've got some changes in state statute, we have some executive orders, we have some mandates from the federal government, and in order to receive our federal funding, we need to align our school board policies with federal and state law. And when that happened, school boards would just sign right off. Organizations like Neola would package all the policies together, make it easy, give them a few choices like 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the policy you need to adapt to align to these new standards. And so it was really just like, let's vote on all of these policies. And if you're a school board member, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then they'd pass, and they passed without reading them, just like Nancy Pelosi's bills and all these like bills that are like this high, and no one reads them and they just pass them. So, but now with Trump in office, it's weird how all the progressive school boards and all the progressive states and the progressive governors and the progressive state departments of education are like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, you don't have to align with federal mandates. You don't have to listen to the executive orders. Oh, you can completely disregard Secretary Linda McMahon. Don't need to listen to her. I'm old enough to remember, because it wasn't too long ago, like 6 months ago, where these same progressive boards and lawyers and state heads of education were demanding that all school boards get behind the Biden rewrite of Title IX. And if you don't, you're going to cause us to lose funding, and you're going to bankrupt your schools, and you're evil and you're bad. And my goodness, did Moms for Liberty, that was really like the second fight of our lives. The first fight was to open schools and get off masks, but fighting the Biden administration and the oppressive tactics taken in order to compel or make school districts feel like they were compelled to adopt the language of the Biden administration regarding gender identity as far as Title IX protections. And we fought so hard, and we won more than we lost. And on July 2nd, 2024, Moms for Liberty was party to a case that the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals issued a injunction, and that injunction was honestly like just a lifesaver. It was a lifeline to so many school districts across this country and in Wisconsin. We signed up, I believe we signed up the most school districts to be protected under that injunction, the most actually schools, because the injunction provided protection to schools that had a member of Moms for Liberty, schools that where the children of a member of Moms for Liberty were present. So those schools did not have to change their policy and conform to the new definition of Title IX under Biden. And now that the Trump administration immediately, one of the first things he did, issue executive orders that defined sex to be male and female. That's it. Kick the term gender. There aren't 1,000 different gender identities and gender expressions and neopronouns. There's 2 genders, male, female. That's it. And then issued executive orders that would protect women's sports, girls' sports, and to stop DEI in education. And so we applaud all the efforts of President Trump, and thankful that the Department of Education is on the right track. However, the work is still local. It's still very much local. And we have to continue to fight, and we have to continue to support our parents. And that's why Moms for Liberty, that's why I was on circling back. That's why I was on Fox and Friends today to discuss our initiative for the month of June, and that we're going to take back June. We're going to take back June for sanity. We're going to take back June for parents, because June and what has been happening over the last few years during Pride Month is completely inappropriate and shocking to parents. We don't want to see drag queen shows for kids. We don't want them in public libraries. We don't want them in public venues. We don't want them in public schools. We do not think that drag queens, men and women, face dancing seductively, scantily dressed in a caricature of a woman is appropriate for young kids. We don't think kids we don't think ESSER funds should be used, federal funds should be used for DEI initiatives this is what happened in Wisconsin. And it's happened a lot of other places where federal funds were used to put on summer festivals, pride festivals, and drag queens were performing for kids, and kids were putting dollar bills into their little bikinis. Yeah, your money paid for that. ESSER funds paid for that. Funds meant for COVID relief paid for drag queens to dance for small children. It's ridiculous, and we're tired of it. We're tired of pride being used as a way to sexualize and indoctrinate kids, put it all over. Myself and my friend Amber were some of the first moms to post on social media about Target in 2022. And the boycott of Target, exposing all the things that they were doing, and that you couldn't take your kids to Target anymore. So that's why reclaiming June, I think, is a is a great initiative, a great way to stand up and to kind of reclaim the narrative. And that this decision falls on June 1st, the Pierce versus the Society of Sisters, this affirmation that the child is not the product of the state, that schools, our rights don't end at the schoolhouse door. That's ridiculous. It's insane. And during Pride Month, no one has the right to fill our kids with propaganda. They don't have the right to instill values into our kids that don't align with our values. These are not their children. Children aren't our children. My children are my children. I don't share them with anybody but my husband, my kids, my children. They're not our children. They're mine. Your kids are yours. We don't want the village. We'll raise our kids in a community, but the community doesn't raise kids. Families raise kids. Parents raise kids. And that's what I think of that. I'm not at all passionate about these things, right? Oh, let me look at some comments. Thank you. I will keep up the good fight, and so many of us will. Another. No tax dollars for religious indoctrination. Exactly. Keep up the good work for moms and dads. We will. It's mind-blowing how blind and brainwashed some parents are. Yeah, but we're waking them up. We're waking them up. Here's a long one. Could say, someone said, where were you before 2021? Did you go to board meetings? I did not. And I'm very open about that. I wasn't really aware of the power of the school board. However, I was in the classroom. I have 5 children. I was in the classrooms sometimes 3 days a week at least. I was a volunteer lunchroom helper. I was a room helper. I helped in, with various things in the classroom from kindergarten, preschool. I did playground duty. At one point, I was doing playground duty 3 days a week and then doing lunch duty. I loved volunteering in my children's school. I loved seeing them. I loved them running up to me and giving me a bear hug. I loved watching them at lunch. They were in, whether it was, and when I couldn't have lunch duty, sometimes I just went and sat at my kids' lunch table and just had lunch with them in elementary school and middle school. I would just sit and have lunch with them. Nowadays, I mean, it was a different time. It was a different time where parents were welcome into schools, where parents were seen as partners. I remember when I have awards, volunteer of the year. So don't say, we were involved. All of us moms, we were very involved. We just weren't political about it, while you were. You understood the game. You understood that you needed to be political. We didn't. We thought that schools were not political. We genuinely thought that our schools were not ideological. We were fooled for way too long. And now we're awake and we're not going back to sleep. So sorry, not sorry. We're not going back to sleep. I know you would like it. I know you'd love for us to just walk away, to wear us down, but that's not happening. And that's why we have members that are grandparents. We have members whose kids are grown. We have members who don't have children. We have aunts, we have uncles, we have moms, we have dads. Because This matters. The future of our country matters. Liberty once lost, it's lost forever. We're not going to lose it. We're fighting. We're moms for liberty. Vast majority of us are moms. And we're not going to take it anymore. So, liar. Nope, not. I mean, how can you say that? How can you say that when it's like, oh yeah, you're lying. Oh yeah, I get these are slides from a presentation in Milwaukee Public Schools supporting LGBTQ plus through a school psychology lens. Furry, gender expression, queer, trans. Yeah, I'm lying. Except I have the receipts, so that's true. Pride Month isn't about children. Another good one. Moms for Liberty is a blessing for all parents and children in America. Thank you. Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. Appreciate that. Don't take your kids to Pride Parade. Yeah, I don't know why anyone is doing that, but they bring the Pride Parade to us. They bring the Pride Parade to us. They bring it to the schools. You heard Rachel Duffy, if you watch the clip, Rachel Duffy's talking about the Pride Parade's coming to the schools. Pride Puppy, Pride Parade. They'll bring it, if they can't bring the actual parade to the schools, they'll bring it in a book form. This is a book that was part of curriculum in Montgomery County, Maryland. And when parents of all faiths, or no faith, atheist parents, but a large group of parents protested this book being read to their young children without their consent. And when they wanted to opt their kids out of Advocates for Youth gender ideology and books like this read to their young kids, they were told, you can't opt out. You can't opt out. You can't opt out of kindness, they said. In this book, this is brainwashing. This is ideological. There are parents that don't agree with celebrating drag queens and transgender youth. It doesn't align with their values, and they have the right to raise their kids the way they want to raise them. That is their right. Someone said prove their pride parades at schools. Okay, I will. I don't have it all like right now. Oh, here. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry. So we'll go back to this. And so I did write this. Parents, never let your kids see a school psychologist unless you're physically present. Yeah, I would. I still agree with that. I would be really careful about letting your kids see a school psychologist, although they may see one and you won't know. And that's the problem. Again, this is just more of the receipts. Educational equity. This was a group in Wisconsin, and there are similar groups all over. Federally funded project, okay, funded by the Idea Fund, and this is where our tax dollars went. Parents do not want their young kid to hear about educational white rage. They don't want kids, they don't want teachers to go to professional development in which the teachers are told that white kids are born racist, white parents are racists, And anyone who voted for Trump is a raging racist, okay? Um, I'm Puerto Rican. My children are, my husband's white. What is that? What's the message to my kids? That their father is an oppressor and I'm a victim? It's ridiculous. It's anti-American, it's Marxist, and it doesn't belong in schools. All of this activism does not belong in schools. And fundamentally, parents parents are charged. It is their duty to raise their children. Schools don't raise children. Children attend schools. They don't belong to them. It's insane that we have to do this. It's insane that we have to say June 1st is going to be Parental Rights Month. It's insane that parents and the whole concept of parental rights is so under siege right now. It's just mind-boggling, but it's where we are. And the good news is that we have an administration in place, which at the federal level is doing its best to fight for sanity, to make America sane again. And we have people like us, those of us in Moms for Liberty, and other organizations that are working hard for our kids and for other people's kids. And can only hope that you would join and support our efforts. So let's see, there may be just a little bit more, but it's Saturday and I'm sure everyone wants to hang out with their family. And I know I do. My daughters are sleeping right now, but they'll be up soon. I can go. There's actually some. There's a few more things. Again, following the money. This image I was like, but Moms for Liberty is working with local conservative parents and grandparents and making it easier to identify and reconsider overtly sexual and age inappropriate books. So this is the case that I was talking about. And here in California, the Department of Education encourages schools to keep secrets from parents. And the good news is that even in California, there are wins. This is an older one, but recently in California, the court ruled that schools had to give parents the ability to opt out. So that district court, actually, even in California, agreed that this particular school district had gone too far. And that school district, and I talked about this before, not only didn't allow kids to opt out, they actually forced other kids, 5th grade kids, to read books like Pride Puppy, like Princess Boy, books that were about affirming transgender identities, forced 5th graders to read these kids to kindergartners. They did not let kids opt out of the curriculum, and they forced participation with the curriculum. So it was so egregious that even in California, the court said the school district had gone way too far. And these were our priorities. And I'll go back to this because here are some of the things, some of the headlines. McGonigal, an 11-year-old boy who identified as a girl, transgender, a girl, used the girls' bathroom. DPI encouraged gender fluidity and early transition of pre-K kids in Amaze videos, children's books, and articles. Eau Claire, Sheboygan, Milwaukee, Elkhorn, Stevens Point, Stafford told parents are not entitled to know their kids' identities. An 18-year-old male in Sun Prairie High School showered naked alongside a 14-year-old female student, saying, "I'm trans, by the way," as he exposed his male genitalia to the girl. A trans-identifying male was allowed to try out for a high school volleyball team in Green Bay and given a spot on the team. I mean, I could just go on and on. And this particular slideshow is 2 years old now. There's so much more. There's more. These are the reasons, and that's the entire why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to show that while I was briefly on Fox and Friends, this is such a much larger concern, a much larger issue. There are so many stories like this and so many around the country. And but there are so many wins. So even recently, sometimes the wins aren't going to be headlines. In fact, I think most of the time they are not. A lot of times the work that is done is informing parents, helping them, and working with teachers and administrators to empower parents, to educate them, to empower them so that they can call their principal, they can call their superintendent, they can talk to school board members. This is something that recently happened in my own area, where there was an egregious assignment and some curriculum, and didn't post this on social media. This wasn't a big splash, but through the efforts of our chapter, we were able to help this family and solve this problem in a way that was amenable to everyone. And this is the kind of work that we do all of the time. It's only when things get so bad that we finally have to post about it, talk about it, try and go on social media, go to news outlets. It's only when things just get to a point where the school district isn't listening, the school board isn't listening, the state Department of Education isn't listening, the legislator isn't listening, that finally it's like, okay, we've got to put this out there. So the claim that, oh, all you do is spark outrage is so false. There is so much hard work that goes on, things that you see, and there's so much more that you don't see. So much hard work, so many good relationships, much more good than bad. So many state legislators that love working with our organization, and they welcome support with open arms. And too often one side shows up to a school board meeting and the other stays home. And we can't affect change if that's the way that it's going to be. So I'm going to end this again on a positive note. I am leaving for DC on Sunday. Moms for Liberty is going to have a press conference in Washington, D.C. We're going to be celebrating June 1st as Parental Rights Month, and I really want to discuss this more with Tina Deskovich, the CEO and founder of Moms for Liberty. So I don't want to. She's the one that is best fitted to discuss all of what's happening in the month of June. And hopefully we can do that soon. And I wanted to share, I am Moms for Liberty. This is who we are. This is who we are. And we don't co-parent with the government. And that is Moms for Liberty Unplugged for right now. I hope you all have a great Saturday. And I hope some of this information was useful for everyone. And if you follow, I'm going to put, as you know, momsforlivy.org. Follow us on X. And don't forget that m4lu.org is amazing. Melissa does a fabulous job. And if you go to m4lu.org, make sure you have a lot of time, because there is so many resources there. What I just showed you right now, drop in the bucket. There are webinars, there are book clubs, there are interviews, there are toolkits, YouTube videos, training videos, everything on subjects like comprehensive sexuality education, gender ideology, restorative justice, critical race theory, some like the big heavy SEL, big heavy topics, more controversial topics in education. So go to m4lu.org and you will learn so much. All of this is free. I mean, so much work has gone into m4lu.org, and these are free resources. There's no paywall. Like, such a great force to utilize. But it'd be great if you supported Moms for Liberty. We would love you to become members. We'd love for you to donate and support our movement, our moms, a largely, vastly volunteer army of moms who do so much work, so much good work. And we are also having a summit in October 16th through the 18th, and it is amazing. It is a place to recharge, a place to learn, to be among your people, like-minded people, sane, team sanity. If you are a mom, if you are a young mom, if you are a grandmother, we have dads that attend. We have a lot of great dads in Wisconsin that attended this event, and they had a blast. So please join us. I'd love to meet y'all. All right, that's it for now. I hope you have a great Saturday. Thank you for tuning in.